Fatima, the third prophecy and concealed controversy. Introduction: the miracle of the sun and the prophetic promise. Welcome back to Secrets of Catholicism. Today we delve into one of the most consequential, intensely debated, and utterly mysterious events in modern Catholic history, the Secrets of Fatima. It is a story that intertwines profound spiritual warnings with high-stakes geopolitical drama, culminating in a secretive third message that fueled decades of conspiracy theories regarding the fate of the world and the Church itself. The year is 1917. Europe is tearing itself apart in the throes of World War I, and the political landscape is on the cusp of revolutionary change. Against this backdrop, in the humble Portuguese village of Fatima, three illiterate peasant children, Lucia dos Santos, and her two younger cousins, Francisco and Jacinta Mato, began reporting a series of apparitions of the Virgin Mary. Over 6 monthly encounters, from May to October, the Lady of the Rosary promised to reveal 3 great secrets to the children. The climax of these apparitions occurred on October 13, 1917, an event so massive that it cemented Fatima's place in history. Despite ridicule and political threats, the children promised a great miracle would occur that day. Estimates suggest between 30,000 to 100,000 believers, skeptics, and even cynical newspaper reporters from Lisbon gathered in the pouring rain. What followed was the miracle of the sun. The sun appeared to detach from the sky, dance erratically, and spiral toward the earth before returning to its normal position, drying the rain-soaked ground and the spectators' clothes instantly. This public, verifiable spectacle transformed the private visions of 3 children into a recognized global phenomenon. But the real mystery lies within the 3 secrets confided only to the children. These messages, given in July 1917, provided a stark spiritual diagnosis of the world and a chilling prophetic outlook for the 20th century. The Vatican, an institution accustomed to managing delicate political affairs, would spend the next 8 decades struggling to understand, implement, and crucially disclose these messages. The core controversy we seek to unpack is not the validity of the visions, but the integrity of the disclosure, particularly the most guarded message. The third secret: what did it truly contain, and why did the highest authorities in the Church choose to suppress its public release for so long? Disclaimer: this content is for educational and analytical purposes only. It is not financial, investment, or legal advice. The Secrets of Fatima are structured as 3 distinct, yet interconnected visions and prophecies. The first 2 were released relatively quickly, designed to shock and mobilize the Church. They dealt with spiritual realities, impending wars, and the fate of an entire nation. To understand the political power of the third, we must first confront the terrifying clarity of the first 2. Their first secret, a terrifying vision of hell, the lady's first communication to the children, was designed to be a profound, terrifying spiritual shock. On July 13, 1917, the 3 children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, were granted a sudden, vivid vision of hell, a vast, terrifying sea of fire where demons and souls in human form were engulfed in flames, crying out in despair and pain. Sister Lucia, who would later become the primary custodian of the secrets, described the vision in harrowing detail in her memoirs. It was a brief but searing experience, intended to deliver an unmissable theological lesson. Hell is real, it is eternal, and countless souls are destined for it, due to sin. The sheer terror of the vision motivated the young children to adopt extraordinary measures of prayer and penance, fasting, wearing rough cords, and offering up small personal sacrifices for the conversion of sinners. The immediate purpose of this first secret was fundamentally spiritual and pastoral. It was not a prophecy about historical events, but a warning about the consequences of human action and the failure to repent. In an age rapidly moving towards secularism, materialism, and the rejection of traditional faith, the very forces that led to the global conflict of WW1. The vision served as a spiritual call to arms. The message coupled with this vision was clear: to save souls from this fate, Jesus wished to establish devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary in the world. This devotion became the mechanism for intercession, a spiritual tool given to humanity to combat the pervasive darkness of sin. The vision therefore acted as the spiritual leverage. Look at the danger, and here is the solution. The theological weight of this vision cannot be overstated. By affirming the reality of hell through a public, church-approved apparition, Fatima provided a stark, concrete answer to the theological relativism emerging in the early 20th century. It put the consequences of sin back into the forefront of Christian consciousness, acting as a profound impetus for personal conversion. The details of this secret were eventually made public in Lucia's memoirs, forming a foundational component of the Fatima message. It set the stage for the next secret, which would move the warning from the realm of the eternal and spiritual into the messy, violent sphere of global politics and war. The immediacy of the threat in the first secret underscored the urgency of the prophetic warnings contained within the second. The second secret, World War and the Rise of Russia. The second secret, also revealed on July 13, 1917, was the explicit political and prophetic heart of the Fatima message. It directly addressed the global conflicts that defined the 20th century, cementing the apparition's reputation as a genuine forecast of world history. The message contained three distinct prophecies. First, a guarantee that World War I would end soon, which it did in 1918, followed by a conditional warning: if humanity did not cease offending God, a worse one will begin during the pontificate of Pope Pius. This was a stunning detail, as the children spoke of a future pope and a war that would be far deadlier than the current conflict. Second, the prediction of a massive, unprecedented celestial sign that would precede the new war. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that it is the great sign given you by God, that he is about to punish the world for its crimes, by means of war, famine, and persecutions of the Church and of the Holy Father. This sign was later widely interpreted as the spectacular, hemisphere-spanning aurora borealis that was visible across Europe and North Africa on January 25, 1938, a mere 8 months before the annexation of Austria by Hitler, the pivotal act preceding World War II. Third, and most controversially, the message singled out a specific nation, Russia. The lady stated that unless Russia was consecrated to my Immaculate Heart, it would spread her errors throughout the world, raising up wars and persecutions against the Church. This warning came just months before the Bolshevik Revolution of October 1917, a political event that would unleash communism, an officially atheist, militantly anti-religious ideology, which indeed spread its influence, driving the Cold War and persecuting Christians across Eastern Europe and Asia for over 70 years. The call for the consecration of Russia became the focal point of Fatima devotion and a major source of internal church debate. Was it a political act or a spiritual one? The Vatican struggled with the implications of consecrating a specific sovereign state, fearing diplomatic repercussions and antagonizing the Soviet Union. Successive popes made consecrations of the world or peoples, but only in 1984 did Pope John Paul II perform a full specific consecration in union with the world's bishops, which many believe led directly to the collapse of the Soviet Union a few years later, fulfilling the conditional prophecy. The second secret proved that the Fatima messages were not merely theological platitudes. They were specific, geopolitically charged, and powerfully accurate predictions that the Church could not ignore. This prophetic track record gave the third secret, the most frightening and concealed message, its unparalleled power to generate fear and intrigue. The third secret, the sealed letter and the 1960 deadline, having revealed the terrifying spiritual fate awaiting sinners, hell and the geopolitical fate of the world, world wars and the spread of communism, The final third secret was delivered to the children. For decades it remained the most highly classified document within the Holy See, locked away in the papal archives. The history of the third secret's suppression is where the real controversy begins. While the first two secrets were publicly known by the 1940s, the third was only written down by Sister Lucia, the sole surviving visionary, in 1944. She recorded it in a sealed envelope and entrusted it to the local bishop, instructing that it must not be opened or read before 1960, as she felt the world would not understand its contents before then. In 1957, the envelope was transferred to the Vatican, where it was eventually placed in the private apartment of the Pope. The critical turning point came in 1960. That year, Pope John XXIII broke the seal and read the message. The world eagerly waited for the public disclosure, believing the secret contained warnings about the imminent future, perhaps even the apocalypse. However, Pope John XXIII chose not to publish it. His decision was monumental. A Vatican communiqué simply stated that the Holy See had decided to postpone indefinitely the publication of the text, arguing that the Virgin did not give the children any command to publish the text. This refusal to disclose ignited the controversy. Why would the Vicar of Christ, the leader of the Church, suppress a message from the Mother of God, especially one dealing with the fate of humanity? The popular, immediate conclusion was that the secret must have contained something either too terrifying, predicting a catastrophic natural disaster, e.g., nuclear war, meteor strike that would panic the global population, too damaging to the Church, predicting a massive apostasy or crisis of faith, possibly even involving high-ranking Church officials, a prediction of the devil entering the Church. The suppression itself, done under the very popes who recognized the Fatima apparitions, became the primary fuel for the ensuing conspiracy theories. The idea that the Vatican, an institution already veiled in secrecy, was actively concealing a divine prophecy about the future created a deep rift of distrust between Fatima devotees and the Church hierarchy, setting the stage for decades of speculation and unauthorized leaks of the rumored contents. The sealed envelope thus became a potent symbol of hidden knowledge and official censorship. The official release and the interpretation of the Bishop in White. The decades of speculation about the concealed third secret finally ended, or officially began, depending on your perspective, in the year 2000. On June 26, under the direction of Pope John Paul II, and then Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who would become Pope Benedict XVI, the Holy See released the full, original text of the third secret of Fatima. The disclosed text was a vision, not a narrative prophecy. Sister Lucia saw a massive, symbolic scenario, a bishop dressed in white, whom the children understood to be the Pope, walking with great difficulty toward a rugged cross on the top of a steep mountain. Along the way, he passed through a ruined city filled with the corpses of various clergy and lay people. When the bishop in white reached the cross, he was shot dead by a group of soldiers, or in some translations, arrows, and simultaneously 2 angels gathered the blood of the martyrs, sprinkling it on the souls making their way to God. The release was accompanied by a crucial theological commentary written by Cardinal Ratzinger, which provided the official Vatican interpretation. The secret is not about the future end of the world. Ratzinger asserted that the vision describes symbolic events of the past, not an impending apocalyptic future event. The prophecy is understood as a conditional warning, not an absolute decree. It was fulfilled in the 20th century. The most authoritative claim was that the vision refers to the suffering of the Church in the 20th century, specifically the communist and Nazi persecutions, and the attempted assassination of Pope John Paul II. John Paul II himself firmly believed that the Virgin of Fatima had intervened to save his life on May 13, 1981, the anniversary of the first apparition, seeing the bullet wound as a direct fulfillment of the prophecy of the Bishop in White falling. It calls for conversion. The message's central theme is not catastrophe, but the need for prayer, penance, and hope in the midst of relentless persecution. The path through the ruined city is the Church's journey through the modern era, By interpreting the vision as already fulfilled and symbolic of past persecution, the Vatican effectively diffused the apocalyptic panic surrounding the third secret. They stressed that the divine revelation was complete with the New Testament, and Fatima served only as a reminder. However, this official closure was precisely what fueled the subsequent and ongoing wave of skepticism and conspiracy theories that the full message had not been revealed. The enduring controversy: was the full message concealed? Despite the official 2000 disclosure, a powerful and persistent critique emerged, arguing that the Vatican only released the vision and deliberately withheld a textual explanation that Sister Lucia had written alongside it. This theory claims that the complete third secret is far more dire, predicting a crisis within the Church rather than simply persecution from outside forces. The basis for this skepticism rests on several historical and structural arguments. The narrative versus the vision. Critics point out that the first two secrets were given as narrative instructions and predictions about Russia and the wars. The third, however, was released purely as a vision. Those close to Sister Lucia, including some Fatima experts and even a few church officials, suggested that Lucia had written a few pages of accompanying text that provided a narrative commentary on the vision, potentially describing a massive apostasy, a systemic loss of faith and internal corruption within the hierarchy of the Church, even reaching its highest levels. This is the heart of the hidden secret theory. The testimonies of priests. Certain priests, who claimed to have read the secret, or were privy to its contents before 1960, reportedly stated that the message was terrifyingly explicit about a bad council or a final battle fought between the Church and the Antichrist. These unauthorized leaks, though unverifiable, played into the fear that the official version minimized the severity of the crisis. The 1960 suppression. Why did Pope John XXIII, a pope known for his openness and optimism, he opened the Second Vatican Council, refused to publish it? Skeptics argue he feared the text would destabilize the Church on the eve of the council, suggesting the contents were highly critical of the institution itself, not just outside persecution. Cardinal Ratzinger, in his defense, later insisted that the Vatican published the entire text, and that the only subsequent writings by Sister Lucia were simply reflections on the vision, not the core secret itself. He argued that the rumors of a hidden section often stemmed from a misunderstanding of how the messages were recorded. Nevertheless, the concealed secret conspiracy theory remains powerful because the official version, that the biggest prophecy in Catholic history simply foretold an event that already happened, felt anticlimactic to many. This dissatisfaction allows the belief to persist that the true message, perhaps warning of an apostasy from the top, is still locked deep within the Vatican's secret archives. The lack of complete transparency from 1960 to 2000 ensured that the official truth would always struggle against the power of a compelling, untold mystery. Conclusion: the enduring legacy of the prophecy. The Fatima apparitions and their secrets have left an indelible mark on the Catholic Church and world history, regardless of whether one accepts the official interpretation or subscribes to the conspiracy theories. The ultimate message and legacy remain a profound force for global consciousness. The legacy of warning and peace. At its core, Fatima is a powerful supernatural intervention that fundamentally shaped the Church's response to the 20th century. The prophecies regarding WWY, the Aurora Borealis, and the rise of the Soviet Union were strikingly accurate, lending unparalleled credibility to the apparitions. This credibility was leveraged to promote the spiritual remedies, prayer of the Rosary, penance, and the devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, as the necessary countermeasures against global conflict and atheistic persecution. Geopolitical impact. The message had tangible geopolitical consequences. The Fatima message became an anti-communist rallying cry for Catholics worldwide during the Cold War. Pope John Paul II, deeply devoted to Fatima, viewed his Polish heritage and his own survival of the assassination attempt through the lens of the prophecy. His decision to formally consecrate Russia in 1984 is often credited as a spiritual catalyst for the end of the Iron Curtain.
demonstrating how a private religious message could influence the course of world powers. The enduring question: even with the official release, the third secret ultimately left a legacy of doubt. While the Church maintains all has been revealed, the long decades of official suppression guaranteed that a segment of the faithful would forever believe that the most terrible part, the warning of internal collapse and apostasy, is still being withheld. The Fatima secrets remind the world that prophecy often works not by revealing every detail of the future, but by issuing a conditional warning. This is what will happen unless you change. Call to action. Now we turn the question back to you. After reviewing the official disclosure and the historical controversies, do you believe the Vatican has published the complete and full third secret of Fatima, or do you believe a more severe warning about the inner crisis of the Church is still being concealed in the archives? Share your insights, theories, and perspectives in the comments below. If you found this deep dive valuable, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating journeys into the secrets of Catholicism.